Welcome back to another one of my videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Laura, and today I'm going to show you how to make this chocolate hazelnut loaf. So if you want to see how to make this cake, keep watching the video. Now for the dough, you're going to need 250 grams of softened butter, 150 grams of brown sugar with 1 pinch of salt, 1 splash of vanilla extract, 4 room temperature eggs, 100 grams of flour, 150 grams of ground hazelnuts or any nuts that you want to use, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and last but not least, 100 grams of chocolate. I'm going to be using these chocolate shards. That being said, we're going to start by creaming together our butter, sugar, salt, and vanilla until it's super creamy and light. And in the meantime, we can go ahead and separate our eggs. Now that our butter sugar mixture is super light and fluffy, we can go ahead and add our egg yolks one at a time. And we're also going to whisk up our egg whites in a separate bowl. Now I forgot to rinse off the butter sugar mixture off of my hand mixer, so now my egg whites aren't actually going to stiffen up. They're really soupy like this, which obviously isn't how it's supposed to be. Ideally, you would rinse off the butter and the sugar from your hand mixer and make sure it's super nice and clean, and then your egg whites should become really nice and stiff. Now because my egg white isn't going to stiffen up, I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my butter sugar mixture. Now, technically, you would want to fold in your stiff egg whites at the very end after we've added our dry ingredients, but this way works just the same. It's just going to be not quite as fluffy as it could have been. Okay, crisis averted. All of my eggs are mixed in. It's looking pretty decent. So at this point, we can go ahead and add the remainder of our ingredients. Now I'm going to sieve my flour, baking powder, and cinnamon just to get a little bit more fluff into my cake and to make it a little bit lighter. And then we're just going to mix everything just until it's combined. You don't want to overmix it. Now, like I said earlier, this is the time you would want to fold in your stiff egg whites, but as we know, I messed that up a little bit, but either way, it's going to work out just fine. So now that our dough is done, we can go ahead and add it to a prepared tin. Now, I always just take a loaf tin, spread a little bit of oil or butter, and then sprinkle in some flour. Now, ideally, this will make sure that our cake comes out in one piece and it doesn't stick to the tin. I have had it happen in the past where it does stick to the tin, so it's always kind of like a guessing game to see if it works. But it should work. We're gonna stay positive. Our chocolate hazelnut loaf can now wander into the oven that's been preheated to 180 degrees Celsius or 306 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's gonna bake for about 60 minutes. Now once again, the bake time might vary depending on your oven, so once you get to the 60-minute mark, it's best to do a little check to see if it's cooked through. Now while our cake is cooling off, we can already go ahead and make our glaze. Now I'm going to be making a cinnamon powdered sugar glaze, but you can just as easily use a chocolate glaze if you prefer, or do what I'm gonna do. So for our cinnamon glaze, you're going to need 1 splash of vanilla extract, about half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 100 grams of powdered sugar, and a splash of milk. Now making our glaze is super easy. We're basically just going to add a splash of vanilla extract and then a little bit of our milk at a time to our powdered sugar until we get like a thick consistency. Now you want to make sure that your glaze doesn't get too thin because else it's not going to create like a really nice thick layer, which is what you want. So just be careful when you're adding your milk and just add a little bit at a time. Now if you do add too much milk, you can always just go ahead and add more powdered sugar until you get the consistency that you like. Now this is the consistency that you're going for. It's not really too thick and it's not too thin. Now I want 2 different shades of my glaze in order to do some decorations on my cake. So I'm just going to take out a couple spoonfuls of my glaze and add it to my cinnamon. I'm gonna mix this around until it's completely combined. If it's starting to get too thick, you can always add a little bit more milk in order to thin it out. Now we're going to spread our white glaze over the entire cake. You can use a pastry brush or a palette knife if you prefer. And then we're going to drizzle over our cinnamon glaze to get a nice little stripe effect. And there's our chocolate hazelnut loaf. So that's going to be everything for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, you can give it a thumbs up or write me a comment down below. And as always, the whole recipe is going to be in the description box as well.